Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Kings podcast. Today we are happy to be back in person with a bigger crew to encourage more football opinions. Our main discourse today is about where tight ends should be going in your draft and the factors positional value has when drafting your team. We hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Kings podcast. We are happy to be back in person. And the 2021 NFL season is right around the corner. We have a new format for this first podcast. We have two new hosts in Jake Cohen and Connor Krebs. We are very happy to introduce them and have them joining our crew for this season to talk all things fantasy. But let's get to the focus of today. Today we are going over the top 25 fantasy players for this season, and we will be comparing them to ESPN's top 25 players. This is going to be an action-filled podcast with lots of debate over the players, so we hope you enjoy. So number one, ESPN has Christian McCaffrey. I also am matching with Christian McCaffrey at number one. He has had a couple injury-plagued seasons lately, but when he is healthy, he is a top back. I just believe he is one of the greatest running backs in the league, especially in this Panthers offense, where they're just going to be giving him upwards to 400, 500 touches. He's going to be getting the ball a ton. He's one of the greatest running backs, and I think everyone at this table here has him at number one just because he's made a name for himself, and he stays healthy. He should be that number one guy. Let's see here with number two, ESPN has Dalvin Cook.
So I also have Dalvin Cook as my number two running back. I just think with the amount of touches he's going to get and his elusiveness and just ability to run after contact, he's going to be able to rack up tons of yards and tons of touches. In this offense from the Minnesota Vikings, that's just looking really good right now. They have new rookies, and their offense is just looking really solid. They're going to be able to stay on the field a lot, which should give Dalvin Cook a lot of opportunities to rack up your fantasy points.
Yeah, and then at number three, ESPN has Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Saquon's going to have a great year coming back after his horrible injury. Got very unlucky last year. I think that was week 1 he went down last year. Or
it was the week against the Bears, so I'm not exactly positive it was 2 or 3, but yeah, it was against the Bears.
Yeah, I think Saquon's going to have a great year, but looking out for the number 3 spot, I think Alvin Kamara is going to be coming up big. So I've got him top 3 this year. Jameis Winston right now is looking like he's going to be the quarterback for the Saints, and everyone seems pretty happy about him. Seems like he's improved, but right now I still don't trust Jameis. So I think they're going to be a very run-heavy team this year. Alvin Kamara is a great guy to have that. So I've got Kamara.
Yeah, exactly. And if you look back at Barkley, guys coming off injuries, I mean, that's always risky. Number 3, a top fantasy player for the year. I think we could bump him down a bit. I have him all the way down to 12, so I think maybe we could bump him down. I think Kamara's a great pick. But let's move on to number 4, where ESPN has Alvin Kamara.
So this was weird for me because I look in the wide receiver position a lot when I'm drafting, and I think there's definitely something to be said about Devonta Adams. He's not a huge he doesn't get a lot of receiving yards, but he gets an average of almost at least 8 receptions a game. And in PPR leagues, that is literally the most important thing. That's 8 free points onto here, I'll click on his name right now. Let's see how many touchdowns he had last year. It was crazy. It was 18 touchdowns and 115 receptions. That's so many automatic points right there. You can't go wrong with drafting him early.
Yeah, and then ESPN has Derrick Henry at number 5. I actually switched to the wide receiver range here with Devonta Adams. I may get some flack for this, but Devonta Adams has proved he's the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy with a close Tyreek Hill battle, but he's Aaron Rodgers' favorite target. Aaron Rodgers returning just solidifies that he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver there. If Aaron Rodgers was not returning, that would drop his stock a lot. But Devonta Adams is going to have a monster season. A lot of people don't like to have wide receivers taken super early. I just think he's going to be a huge fantasy factor this year. And I think at number 5, he has some great value there.
Sorry, go ahead.
One thing I just wanted to say, you mentioned Rodgers. He's obviously not too happy right now, especially the way last year went. This is most likely, I would say, going to be his last year in Green Bay, last dance. So I think he's going to bring everything he's got this year. He wants to get that last Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He loves Davonte.
Yeah.
And when Aaron Rodgers is mad, he does amazing things. So look out for Davonte.
And with Davonte, there's just something to be said about the rest of that offense. The offense is built around Davonte and being able to run the ball with Aaron Jones. So it's just a great 1-2 punch because they're really the only two who will get the ball. Aaron Jones and Davonte, that is.
And at number 6, ESPN goes to a tight end in Travis Kelsey. Who do you have going?
So I'm actually sticking with that. I completely agree with Travis Kelsey being this high. Normally, you never would see a tight end this high ever in anything. They just don't have that much value. But Travis Kelsey is special. And in the Kansas City Chiefs offense with Patrick Mahomes just racking up completely insane numbers, Travis Kelsey sets himself so far apart from tight ends. You talk about positional value. He has got to be by far the most value you could get at a single position.
Something I have to say about that is I believe positional value is a hoax. I think you need to completely take running backs from wide receivers. There's the three triangle, the triangle of the tight ends in that NFL. Travis Kelsey, Darren Waller, and George Kittle.
No, Travis Kelsey is not in that triangle. Travis Kelsey is in his own league apart from everything else. You look at him, he's going to get 20 points a week. Darren Waller might get 10.
See, that's so debatable just because of the fact that because of how high-powered offense the Chiefs have, you could literally see that anyone touch the ball. Anyone. Allaire, they could go heavy in the run. Tyreek Hill's crazy. Their wide receiver depth is very, very deep. So that's why I don't agree. I have Travis Kelsey at 12. I don't believe in positional value.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just so much worth it. You could have the same amount of points come out of each of your running backs. Running backs are going to have off and on days. But really, this Kansas City Chiefs offense, they've scored so many points and rack up so many yards. They're just not going to have an off day.
Yeah, and a lot of people shy away from tight ends. This is why we have this podcast. This is why we have this debate. Because, 312 fantasy points last year. That is absurd for a tight end. Darren Waller obviously is a step below him. But it will be interesting to see how Travis Kelsey's season plays out. Then at number 7, ESPN has Devonta Adams. Who do you have, Don?
Yeah, one thing before I move on to my next player is, after doing a lot of mock drafts this year, you mentioned positional value, Krebs. I just think getting running backs early is very important. When you get into those later rounds.
That's the question. Kelsey running back, that's
running back, right? And I think that tight ends, it's very interesting this year. We've got some rookies in the mix now. Kyle Pitts looks amazing. So I'm excited to see how he does too. But just in general, I think getting those 2 running backs early will really help your team just because then you could focus on other stuff. And there are so many wide receivers this year, so many great wide receivers. I think a lot of quarterbacks too are starting to spread target share more instead of focus on that one guy. But moving on to, you said number 7,
yes, number 7,
Davonte Adams. I completely agree with that. Like I said, I sort of talked about Adams a little bit, so I'm not going to go on too much. But Rodgers is not happy with the situation. Davonte, excited to be back out there. I think great things are going to be coming from that duo.
Okay, and at number 8, ESPN has Ezekiel Ellie.
So, yeah, I actually had Zeke at 7, so very close. But my number 8 was actually Austin Eckler. And it's not, honestly, it's not because of his ability to run at all. It's literally his receiving upside. And I only play in PPR leagues. All of my leagues are PPR. So having a running back who will get decent amount of runs, he'll get a lot of carries. There's not really a RB2 there. In where are the Chargers now? Where are they? I was about to say
LA.
Yeah,
It's
I was about
Joshua Kelly and Justin Jackson.
Yeah,
is
I was about to say San Diego right there, but he's just the receiving upside with him. I mean, I'd be scared for injuries, but
because of last year again,
I think he did take a huge
lot of
step
these
back last year with a massive injury.
Exactly, but this top 10, a lot of these guys coming off injuries. That's the question: where do they fall? Where do you have anything else to say about in there?
Nah, not really.
Okay, perfect. ESPN number 9, they have Jonathan Taylor. I'm a complete match here with Jonathan Taylor, just because young guy. This is his second year in the league. He's got the starting role. He is a workhorse of a back. He's going to have a great year in this Colts offense. I just believe that, people talk about Nyheim Hines playing. He's kind of just, it's not really a dual-wheeled back. Nyheim Hines is definitely behind Jonathan Taylor, and Jonathan Taylor is going to be getting the bulk of the touches. With Marlon Mack going out last year, week 1, Jonathan Taylor just showed his talent and what he can do on the football field and absolutely made Marlon Mack pretty much irrelevant. Now, Nyheim Hines, again, is his only competition, and he is, I think, going to blow him out of the water, and I think Jonathan Taylor is due for a great season.
I completely agree with that. And also, they have a ton of questions at quarterback right now, meaning they're going to be running the ball a lot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor could come as high as a top 5 running back. You could see him really high.
However,
it's his breakout year.
However, don't be surprised if Nyheim Hines gets touches.
He will.
He's gonna get touches. He's too good to not.
Yeah, he's kind of, more of a veteran presence to Jonathan Taylor just because of his second year. But I just think there's so much potential for a breakout this season. I think he's a great pickup. And at number 10, ESPN has Austin Eckler. Who do you have?
This is where I had Jonathan Taylor, but I have Tyreek Hill at a similar spot. I agree with. I mean, again, going back to the Kansas City Chiefs offense, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is going to have a 70-point game. You're just going to see it.
Yeah, and at rank 11, ESPN has Aaron Jones.
So I actually have Tyreek Hill at number 11.
Me too.
He is my second wide receiver behind Adams.
Yep.
Not much to be said here. Mahomes is coming back. Tyreek is coming back. They've been great in the past. Tyreek is definitely a safe pickup for your wide receiver one.
Offensive line boost.
Offensive line boost, exactly, Cohen. So if he's on the board when you're drafting, get him.
Yeah. And at number 12, ESPN has Nick Chubb.
So I have Nick Chubb a little lower, and actually at my 12 here was Travis Kelsey.
Okay.
Because I disrespect the tight end thing a lot. However, Nick Chubb also does have a lot of upside, but once again, the 2 running back system is really scary in fantasy. You never know what's going to happen with that. So at my I already said Kelsey, but someone we haven't talked about yet that I actually had at 11 is Stefan Diggs.
I got him at 12. Yep.
So that's a lot of receiving upside right there. He led the NFL in yards last year with 1,005. I mean, you just can't go wrong with Diggs. He's going to get a lot of touches this year. But, yeah, I did have Kelsey at 12 and Diggs at 11. So.
And, really, he's their only, spotlight in that offense in Buffalo.
Yeah.
With Josh Allen coming off an amazing year last year, breakout year for him, it's going to be another great year for Stefan Diggs.
Yeah, at number 13, ESPN has Tyreek Hill, who we just talked about. I flipped the scripts to a running back, Naji Harris, coming out of Alabama. He was the 24th pick, I believe, in the first round to the Steelers. They got rid of James Conner. I think he's walking into a system that is instantly going to make him the starting running back, and I believe he's going to thrive there. Usually Alabama backs do take a little bit of time. I think he's a bit different. We look at Derrick Henry, who came out of Alabama. He took a bit to blossom in Tennessee, but I think Naji Harris is going to have a great season with Pittsburgh.
The only thing I'd be worried about with that is that offensive line is sketchy as it gets.
Exactly.
Them and the Bears are the 2 most sketchy offensive lines in the NFL right now. So that'll be dangerous, but I agree. He has so much talent. He's crazy.
And just the upside walking into a starting role, we're going to see it unfold
with
in front
questionable
of our eyes.
QB play. Big Ben.
No, you gotta.
He's a bit old.
A little questionable.
You gotta love Big Ben. You gotta love.
They're going to turn to running the ball, and it's going to be all right for him. He's going to have a great freshman year, I guess. And
I agree. And at 14, ESPN has Antonio Gibson.
Ooh. At 16?
At 14.
14. I have DeAndre Hopkins.
I do as well.
DeAndre Hopkins. And I don't know. I always go to the offense and look at what they're doing. The Cardinals' offense the Cardinals have really come into the league recently. They're becoming a major contender. Maybe not for a Super Bowl yet, but definitely deep playoffs. Kyler Murray's an exceptional player. And DeAndre Hopkins has been one of the top receivers in the league for a while now. He's going to get you points.
And at 15, ESPN has Naji Harris. Who do you have, Connor?
I had Gibson at 15. at 15. So one thing I did notice, last year I think Gibson he broke out late into the year, but he also had some injury problems. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do week 1, especially in some of these early matchups. This year, Ryan Fitzpatrick is at the helm this year, and Gibson was sort of a pass-catching back last year. So I'm excited to see how they connect, especially in the red zone. Can't go wrong with Gibson here. Great pick.
Yeah, I'm just going to build out that. I think he's so similar to Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
He has J.D. McKissick. Taylor has Nyheim Hines. I think both those guys are poised for breakout second years. I think they're just so similar.
I think with that secondary back we talked about a little bit, when there's two backs.
Sometimes benefits.
It'll benefit, yeah. I think there's obviously going to be one game where I think the back, like you said, J.D. McKissick might outshine Gibson a little bit, but I can guarantee you that's not going to be a week-to-week basis. Gibson's going to get more carries in the long run.
Yeah, and at rank 16, ESPN has Stefan Diggs.
Yeah, so as we talked about, I had him a lot higher. My 16 is actually Justin Jefferson for one reason and one reason only. He is so good. Like he is just literally he's the full package at the receiver position. He's fast. He can cut. His agility is crazy. His ability to move is just crazy.
Great tackle.
Yeah, Adam Thielen and him are going to be possibly one of the best 1-2 punches. The only problem there is I really don't know if Kirk Cousins is good enough to give him the ball.
He's just so talented.
Kirk Cousins, I
had him at 18, so
I really don't know who can guard Jefferson. Really, that's like he's just the whole package, and he's just the whole package. He's really good. He's young too. He's young
he almost
too.
got that Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
He just got it stolen by Justin Herbert, but I mean, both of those guys had great rookie seasons. ESPN has DeAndre Hopkins at 17. I have Stefan Diggs. I think the Bills are pretty much contenders this year. Stefan Diggs, we pretty much touched on him already. He was good in Minnesota, moving over to Buffalo last year, had a great season. Josh Allen's going to hit him a ton this year. He's going to have another great year. There's not much else to say about that. At 18, ESPN has Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley. Okay, I have Calvin Ridley at 15. I'm pretty high on Calvin Ridley this year for really only one reason. I don't think he's super talented, but there is really only two options there in Atlanta, him and a rookie, I am high on Kyle Pitts, but Calvin Ridley, he's going to have a good year again. He's really their only option at receiver. So I think he's just going to get too many targets to be, just not have a good game.
That's the problem, though. I think without Julio, all that focus on Calvin Ridley might ruin his career. I think Calvin Ridley is the definition of a wide receiver 2, and he's the best at his job at being the wide receiver 2.
That's the question.
So it's really just all a big question mark for him.
It's going to be a true testament to how what type
him
of
versus top
is.
corners.
Is he a wide receiver 1? If he is, he's going to have a ton of points, and he's going to have a great year. But if he can't live up to that expectation going against CB1s, it's going to be tough for him.
Yeah, I agree.
And at 19, ESPN has DK Metcalf.
Okay, this is interesting. I actually had Keenan Allen instead. We talked a little bit about Herbert being Rookie of the Year last year. He looked phenomenal last year, and I can guarantee you that chemistry between his wide receiver core and him is just going to keep growing and growing as Herbert develops. So look for Allen to have, I think, his best year yet in fantasy.
For some reason, I didn't put Keenan Allen very high, but I agree with everything you just said, so that's really
Keenan
bad.
Allen is really underrated. He gets overshadowed a lot, but he's a great. He's not a big play guy. He's more of a short route wide receiver. You don't see him a lot getting those big splashy plays like Justin Jefferson did last year, getting those deep passes.
He's gonna be a good slot receiver this year. Great target.
At rank 20, ESPN has A.J. Brown.
Okay, so I had A.J. Brown at 18. I'm a little nervous about Julio and Henry, but at the same time, that could be a really big benefit for him. That could end up being a really, really big benefit because no one's going to be – that offense is just crazy talented. Tannehill at the helm, Julio and A.J. Brown. That offense is scary, scary good. But at 20, I actually had Naji Harris, but I think I could have bumped him up a little more. To be fair.
Okay, and then at 21, ESPN has Justin Jefferson. We talked about how pretty much all of us are pretty high on him. I actually had James Robinson at 21. So Travis Etienne was the person stopping me from putting James Robinson high. Now he's out for the season with an injury. So I think James Robinson, a lot of people are sleeping on him. I think he's stepping right back into that number one role, and he's just going to have another dominant season. Being undrafted, he had a lot to prove last year. He did it, and then the Jaguars went out and drafted Travis Etienne in his face. That must have been a horrible feeling for him. But now that he's hurt, I think he moves right back up into some of those top-tier backs and has a great season.
I think that could be sketchy, though. Do you know when Travis Etienne's coming back?
No, he's out for the season.
Yeah, okay, then yeah, that looks good. And only worry is in a Jacksonville offense that's not going to be too strong this year.
They're young.
We'll see how.
I've heard a lot of bad things about Urban Meyer, so we'll see.
We'll see how Trevor Lawrence does. Yeah. And at number 24, ESPN has Darren Waller.
So I have Darren Waller at 23. My 24 is a little bit of a stretch. It's David Montgomery. I think he is the most upside in the NFL this year. On about, here, I'm going to look at his stats, actually, as a matter of fact. On 247 attempts, not the most you'll see from a starting running back. He had 1,070 yards. And this year, Matt Nagy's already stated that he's going to get an average of 20 carries a game. And I think with that amount of carries, he's going to go crazy. I mean, 1,000 yards, 1,400 yards is not out of the question here. Only 8 touchdowns last year, but I also think that's because of how deep the running back position was with the Bears last year. We lost Cordell. It's just as deep this year, but I think most of the red zone targets for sure are just going to be David Montgomery down the middle every time. And I think he's going to score a lot more. We saw it at the end of the year. I think it was last 6 games of the year-ish. He had a lot of touchdowns, and I really think that's going to keep happening.
I think the only question mark with him, though, for at least the first half of the season is how long can this Bears offense stay on the field?
Yeah, and that line is horrendous.
Andy Dalton at quarterback, I think they're going to be getting a lot of 3 and outs. I'm not as high on David Montgomery as you, just for that sole reason.
I think he's so similar to Keenan Allen, just being overshadowed a lot. He had a great season, and I just think he's overlooked a bit because he's pretty low on a lot of these rankings. I don't even know where ESPN has him, but he's pretty low. Then at 25, ESPN has Terry McLaurin. I actually have A.J. Brown. I have him pretty far down. A lot of people think Julio Jones coming in is going to help him. I think it's going to hurt some of his obviously the coverage will be better for him, but I think it's going to hurt some of his touchdown receptions. So I just think it bumps him down a bit. But A.J. Brown is still a really great receiver, and I'm looking forward to watching his season. We thank you all for watching this podcast. It was a blast going over the top 25 players, and before we let you go, we wanted to sneak peek that we are running a league this year with Hersey athletes. Yes, we are going to have Hersey athletes here to talk about their fantasy teams and get their opinions on who they think is going to dominate this fantasy season. Again, thank you all for being with us, and we'll see you guys in the next one.